Oh, Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me.
Glory to Jesus Christ. Welcome to CherubimCreations. I'm Dennis G. Thanks for joining me again today. I would like to discuss what's going on with the UAPs and the drones that's flying over New Jersey, Minnesota, other countries in the Americas, and why people are speculating whether it's coming from Iran or it's a United States government ploy to distract us from something else, or some are even saying extraterrestrial life. Well, I just want to use this opportunity as well to redirect people to what the Catholic Church has said for 26, well, I should say at least 2,000 years on the matter, but even prior to that with philosophers such as Plato, Aristotle, that the idea of extraterrestrial life is not anything new in discussion. We see maybe a different form of ETI or extraterrestrial life. This intelligence was viewed as something that was actually in the sky, that as we're looking at drones, well, they actually looked at stars and other heavenly bodies as actual intelligent life, intelligent non-human life, as some say as well, as they obviously had a view of the fact that the sun was rotating around the earth instead of the other way around, where the earth is rotating around the sun, right? This geocentrism that they had. But obviously moving forward in Christianity, in the early church, we have church fathers who also speculated about extraterrestrial life, such as St. Augustine in the City of God, chapter 15, and St. Jerome, who, again, they believed in these mythical beings such as centaurs or fauns, etc. And once again, the idea of this non-human intelligent life was in the mind of church fathers. John Chrysostom in the East as well spoke about how God created, or could have easily created, many different planets that were inhabited. And we see that moving forward, the first philosopher, theologian, and astronomer, Nicholas of Cusa, in the 15th century, was the first one to explicitly say that not only are there other planets like ours that exist in the universe, but that many other life forms also exist on those planets, intelligent life forms. And so you would think that would cause a stir in the church, but it didn't. He was a cardinal. He was also a papal legate, and he also was in a general council in the 15th century. So this is very important to think about, that he was of the highest ranking of the church, yet it caused no stir that he actually believed this, because this was part of the thought, again, going back to the philosophers, the early church theologians, and into the scholastic era. We see St. Thomas Aquinas, which obviously didn't have, in the 13th century, didn't have a robust understanding of the universe as we have today. And so they thought of the stars as maybe gaseous, or again, non-inhabitable planets or objects that it was impossible for intelligent life to exist on. So that was never really a discussion. So of course the idea was, okay, there's humans, and then there's angels, and then demons, fallen angels, and then of course God, who's pure spirit. But we actually see in the modern era as well, with we actually see St. Padre Pio actually stating that in an interview, private interviews, that his guardian angel, I suppose, since he spoke with him, stated that there are other intelligent beings on other planets that haven't fallen or sinned like we have. And so they didn't lose their intelligence. As we know from Adam and Eve, the Catholic Church teaches that their intelligence, or IQ, was far superior than ours now, because they hadn't received the original sin that we received. And so it would make sense that if these beings haven't fallen, that they actually would have the IQ or intelligence to create this technology that far surpasses ours today. And it's only through reverse engineering that we're able to go from horse and buggy for thousands of years to all of a sudden within decades being able to speak to each other around the world, or going to the moon in a rocket and creating artificial intelligence ourselves. So this is something to really meditate on. What's happening with what's going on with the drones? Obviously, I think that's terrestrial, but this just points back to the congressional hearing from last year, the House hearing, the Senate hearing just recently within the past couple of weeks, of, again, high-end military officials that have come out, sworn that they, or those who they know personally, have seen extraterrestrial life. They've been doing reverse engineering, the American government, on these spacecrafts for decades now. And we're not the only ones. Russia, China, Italy was actually apparently the first one that done this through a crashed UFO. And so these are all very important to consider here, especially with the Catholic Church, with Christianity. Many people point to the Bible as well for evidence of this. And some of those passages would be like Genesis 6, for example, about the Nephilim, the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were fair and came down to take whom they chose and bore children to them, the Nephilim. And then God destroyed the earth with the flood because of this. However, again, this is not in accord with Christian tradition. There's actually other speculations on that, such as angelic creatures. But you can go to my video on demons in the East to see why that would be possible, the fact that they would have subtle bodies. And then we go to Ezekiel, we see possibility of these wheels within the wheels, heavenly visions Ezekiel's perceiving. And then, of course, Jude, hearkening back to Enoch 1, and then also Genesis 6, the book of Jude, second last book of the Bible, and the book of right before the book of Revelation, where he speaks about this very thing, right? But he actually makes it clear that it was angels. So why am I pointing to this? I'm just saying that people point to these passages to make the claim for extraterrestrial life, but really the Bible doesn't have to say anything explicitly about this, just like it doesn't have to say anything about astronomy or mathematics or any other science per se. It's speaking about salvation history. So just because it does or doesn't mention extraterrestrial life doesn't mean that it's against our faith. And again, I just pointed to the fact that there were theologians in the church that stated this, even William of Vorilong in the 15th century as well, French philosopher and theologian, who actually stated that he believed in the multiverse, if I'm not mistaken, and that there were actually an infinite amount of planets where it was inhabited by other beings like ourselves that were of high intelligence. And so now it's just a matter of fact, are we within contact with them, and are they working alongside of our government and things like this? So just know, again, it's not against our faith as Catholics, Orthodox, as Christians, to believe in extraterrestrial life. But again, it's also possible that these could be demons in disguise, right? These are all possibilities, but based on the evidence, it doesn't seem like that is the case. It seems like they are actual physical beings. And Cardinal Balducci of the Vatican Observatory, who again quoted St. Padre Pio as well in one of his articles, saying that extraterrestrial life does exist, he makes a claim that just like you have small life forms like bacteria or single cell organisms that start off, and there's a gradual increase in species, and there's not a giant gap in between like one species to another in intelligence until you get to humans and angels and God. But he claims that he thinks that extraterrestrial beings would be in between humans and angels because they would have the intellect almost of an angel, but yet they have physical bodies like our own. Again, I mentioned in the East, we do believe that, but it's more of a subtle body. So there's a distinction there. Therefore, it would be fitting that they would exist, that God would have created them. But again, this is all speculation. If you would like me to maybe talk more on this topic in depth in a long form discussion, I very much can. But just based on everything going on currently in real time, I wanted to make this video and just to give people some comfort there that, if evidence does come out that is far surpassing that has already come out from the government, that extraterrestrial life does exist, just know that it's not harmful to your faith, and you're in the company of 2,600 centuries of philosophers, theologians, and astronomers that also have been discussing this. So may God bless you. Pax Christi.